The Philippine government has been vocal of its support for the local startup industry. It acknowledges that the sector has some of the solutions to the rising demand for effective technologies that would help the people adapt to the new normal. To prove its support, the Department of Science and Technology even launched the Startup Grant Fund program. That initiative will provide funding opportunities for innovative startups for their research and development activities. For more on the Philippine government's efforts to boost the local startup sector, we're now joined by Science and Technology Secretary Fortunato de la Peña. Our Filipino startups during the pandemic, are they still able to thrive despite the pandemic, given the Startup Act and other laws that are already in place before the pandemic?
Well, of course, startups are not safe from the negative impacts of the pandemic. A survey that we did among 90 startup founders revealed that 48% of them feel threatened by COVID-19 and 49% have pivoted to survive and adjust to the situation that has been brought about by COVID-19. The three major concerns that they raised were the financial impacts and its effects on their operations. The other one is the potential global recession. And the third one is still the difficulties with funding. But startups actually drove e-commerce to new heights during this pandemic. So the digital economy actually allows even very small businesses to participate in the supply chain even without scaling. In general, these startups that have contributed to drive e-commerce to new heights are those that are involved in making online purchases easier. So that includes the payment systems, GCash, PayMongo, and others. And the other one would be the so-called online marketplaces, where they consolidate suppliers, small suppliers, and deliver them to clients. And of course, the next item would be the logistics platforms, where they consolidate products and provide online platforms to bring them closer and more efficiently to buyers. So we have, for example, a company called pushcart.ph, which is an online grocery service. We have another one, the Grocer Genie PH, another online grocery marketplace. And the startups also helped us in terms of coming up with products, particularly in the area of medical devices. For example, when we started the testing and our people to check for COVID-19, they needed specimen collection booths, and it's actually one of our startups that made the design that he actually opened to all who wanted to adopt it. So this is the FAME company. And then, of course, in the area of coming up with the local ventilators, so one startup that participated is Neuron Make, okay? And hopefully we will be able to finish the product through the clinical evaluation soon. So our network of 48 technology business incubators have actually come up, okay, with solutions, particularly for COVID-19.
Have these all, availed of the benefits of the Startup Act?
We, for example, there are three government departments that were mandated under the Innovative Startup Act to have a program of assistance for startups. These are DTI, DOST, and DICT. And we have so far agreed, okay, that all of us will come up with our own startup assistance, okay, development assistance. But of course, we may be targeting very specific kinds of startups. In the case of DOST, I have already signed the guidelines for the startup development. This will feature, for example, assistance in further developing the product. Kasi there are startups where the prototypes are still in a very, shall we say, crude form.
Yeah.
Or yeah. So far we have recently awarded the first 14 startups with this assistance for their R&D and product development. So we invested 43 million to the 14 startups.
So what subsectors of the local startup scene are seen to be outperforming in the new economy? Like, what are you most excited about?
Well, right now, I think there has been a demand for contactless solutions, and it has opened more opportunities for startups in the logistics, e-commerce, entertainment, education, and health sector to put up technologies, products, and services that can answer the needs of the new economy. So startups in these spaces have risen with a much greater speed and have squeezed many years of growth into a 1-year period.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are also other startups still brought about by the fact that we cannot have face-to-face transactions, and this is particularly in the area of learning systems. So a number of them have come up with educational technology startups. So we have examples like EduSuite and Wella school systems. They have become more relevant during the pandemic as our educational systems have or institutions have shifted to online and blending learning methods. We have another DOST funded startup. We call it SENTI, SENTI Tech Labs, which developed a machine learning based language classifier that automatically detects the language of any document and will allow the clients to view the market behavior on social media as well as the real-time conversations about their products.
Other ASEAN countries already have their share of unicorns or the elusive billion-dollar companies like Lazada and Grab. In the Philippines, we still don't have it. What are the challenges? Why, so far we haven't seen these unicorns in the Philippines?
Of course, we really have not come up with a unicorn yet. And actually, the startup that has received the biggest investment funding from an investor, if I may name it, is Kumu. That is one of the startups under our Kubo Innovation program. Maybe I can quote Katrina Chan, the head of the Kubo Innovation Hub. What she sees as a challenge, according to her, is that the Filipino founders or startups rarely think big enough. Because to be a unicorn, she says the target addressable market needs to be huge. That's what investors look at. We need to encourage more our startups to think big. And of course, we need more funding, especially for growth, and more experienced founders that will think bigger.
Assuming that a startup thinks big, is funding available for them, or is funding also an issue?
I think honestly, it's still an issue here. Okay, you still have to see more venture capitalists coming in. I think we cannot depend on the government for all of these requirements. But however, we have seen some successful startups that are actually coming from the R&D group. Okay, and if I may mention, we have been reporting the case of Manila Health Tech Corporation. Actually, it is a group that was formed by our own researchers in our diagnostic kit program. Okay, so they started with development of the dengue diagnostic kit, which was of course got approval, and it's now in the market. They were about to launch the leptospirosis diagnostic test kit until COVID-19 came in, and when we were able to get the genome sequence for COVID-19, they immediately, of course, repurpose their work, so they focused on COVID-19. But the research part we funded, but the actual production part, when they are already in the business, they raise it.
So with the PSE now easing the listing rules, and speaking of capital, are you expecting startups to actually tap the stock exchange or the public for fundraising?
Actually, when I was still director of the UP Institute for Small Scale Industries, I was already an advocate of relaxing the listing rules of the Philippine Stock Exchange. But this move now by the Philippine Stock Exchange to relax the listing rules is really a welcome development to Filipino startups as they relax the profitability and the operating history requirements, and a temporary relief clause in considering applications due to the pandemic. This is aligned with our goal of easing the restrictions for startups, and we hope that this will attract many startups to enlist and go public. We see this that this will complement the Startup Venture Fund of the Department of Trade and Industry, since startups who were supported through the Startup Venture Fund have the huge potential to go public. And we at DOST, and I'm sure DTI also, will be willing to help as needed.
Okay, that's very interesting. So with that, thank you very much, Secretary De La Peña.